customer expectations, the partner expectations, and the project manager expectations. So prior to setting the install date, we will be having a kickoff call with the customer. This kickoff call is usually done with the channel project coordinator, the channel manager, and the sales rep, whoever sold the account as well. The purpose of that order verification call is to pretty much schedule the installation and make sure that everything in the order is correct. So during this kickoff call, we want to make sure that the installation date is set during that call to give the customer the right expectation and kind of coordinate that already with the customer to make sure that they know when the installer will be on site to install the equipment and any service. So we want to make sure that we arrive at the customer site on said installation date on time, looking professional, because you will be representing Nexogy when doing the install of these phones. We want to go ahead and also let the customer know exactly what the expectations of the installation will be. Provide them a rough estimate of how long you're going to be installing your phones. Explain to them what it is that you're going to be doing and who your points of contact are if you have any questions. It's very important that you do not leave the customer's site until everything is done that we're going to be going through in this checklist, and making sure that the customer has no additional questions and knows exactly who to reach in the case that they do have questions. So what is done prior to the installation? Once we're on site, you will have your designated your designated project coordinator for this specific project. That is the person who you're going to be reaching out to in case you have any questions about the said installation. So prior to beginning the installation, it's important that we go through some checkpoints as to what should be done to ensure for a smooth install. One of the first things we want to do is we want to run a quick speed test in the customer's network. This is just to make sure that there is sufficient bandwidth at the customer site. Phones, they don't really use a lot of bandwidth, but you want to make sure that if possible, QoS is enabled, which is quality of service, to ensure that the phones are being prioritized in that network. And you want to make sure that Nexogy's firewall parameters are also implemented in the network to ensure that the network is, let's say, optimized for VoIP traffic. So one of the important things that you also want to look out for is that the customer doesn't have multiple devices in the network that are going to be issuing out DHCP. The last thing you want is to cause a double NAT in the network, and that usually results in registration issues and one-way audio. So you definitely want to look out for that and make sure you have a good feel for the customer's network and the network anatomy so that you can better understand and know exactly if an issue were to arise, why that could be happening. 90% of the time, not even 90, I would say just about 95% of the time, it's usually an issue within the network as to why a phone doesn't register. But if you ever run across an issue like that, it's usually best to just reach out to your project coordinator and run them by the scenario and what's going on, and they will better assist you. You're going to find a copy of the Nexogy firewall parameters at the bottom of this document. They're usually very detailed in the sense of it tells you exactly which IPs you need to look out for, what ports we use, and what are the fully qualified domain names that our phones reach out to, depending on the model of the provider. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump on now to the installation checklist when we are actually installing a phone. So instead of just walking you through this checklist and kind of reading it along with you, I'd like to actually go ahead and pull up a live action feed right now, and you're going to see me unbox one of the more common phones that are sold. It's a Yelling T21 PE2. They're entry-level phones, and I'm going to actually take you through connecting one, setting it up, and making sure that it comes, and how to pretty much connect them. So just bear with me. Let's get this out the way. All right, so right here we have our Yelling T21 device. First thing we want to make sure we do is make sure that all of the components are inside of the box. So I'm going to start unboxing this device, making sure everything's ready to go. Here we have our phone. We have our handset. We have our wall mount / standing base. And of course, we have the power supply, as well as the handset cable that's going to connect our handset to our phone. Every phone does come with a standard Ethernet cable, so you want to make sure you have one of those readily available as well. So one of the first things I like to do is I like to actually set up the base, because this is what's going to allow the phone to set properly while you're finishing up any other connections you might need to do. So this base that we have here, we need to make sure that it snaps on right in the back. And you're going to see it's going to have 4 different prongs for it to be able to connect to. So those prongs, once they're in, you slide them in, and you're going to see 4 additional prongs that are going to actually slide into the back of the phone here. So once that's set, placed, the phone can stand on its own. I'm going to go ahead and start connecting the Ethernet cable now. So this Ethernet cable, you want to make sure that you're connecting it to a working RJ45 or Cat5, Cat6 port, a data port that's in your office. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And you want it to snap into place. You do not want to have this cable loose, because it can affect the connection of the actual phone. The Ethernet cable in the back of the phone, you're going to want to connect it to where it says internet, not where it says PC. So in the back of the phone, in the internet port, I'm going to have my Cat5 cable connected. Plug that into a working power port, which we have right here. Okay. As for the handset port, you want to make sure that this is being plugged in correctly. You're going to see 2 different RJ11 connections for this type of phone. You're going to see a handset port, and you're also going to see a headset port. So right here on the right side of this phone, for example, we have 2 different ports, one of them being labeled handset, one of them being labeled headset. You can tell which one's which because one of them actually has a picture of a handset right there at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in the correct port just to make sure that the audio is going to work from the receiver. And then, of course, to finish everything off, I'm going to grab my power cable, plug this into the phone, and then this phone is actually going to go ahead and start turning on and downloading its configuration. Please allow anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes for the phone to actually reach out to the provisioning server, download its configuration, and then once it's up and running, you'll see that it has the correct time and the correct date on the phone. At that point, you should be able to go ahead and make a test call, make sure that you can call out to a cell phone or something like that, get the phone up and running. All right, so all of our ATAs come standard in a small white box. It's packaged very safely, and inside of this white box, you're going to have all of your components necessary to be able to connect this ATA. ATAs do leave the manufacturer already pre-programmed, so these devices, again, are plug and play. Okay. So right here in the back of the ATA, you're going to come standard with an analog cable or an RJ11 cable, an Ethernet cable, and a power cable. So in the back of these connections, they're very straightforward. In the back of these, you can actually see that there is a power connection right here. You're going to see 2 different RJ45 connections, and you're going to see 2 different RJ11 connections or analog connections. You want to make sure that the internet cable is plugged into where it says WAN and not LAN. So it's got to be connected into the WAN port. All right, and then as for the analog cable or the RJ11 cable, that goes in connected to the phone line 1 port, right? If you have 2 different ATAs if 2 different printers or fax machines that's being serviced by the same ATA, you want to make sure that these are being connected in the correct port. So again, internet cable goes into the WAN port, and then your analog cable goes into the into the phone line 1 port. So I would grab my internet cable, plug that into the WAN port, grab my RJ11 cable, and plug that into the phone line 1 port. And that is how those connections should look, just like that. Of course, you'd have your power cable, and that power cable would plug in right here into the power port, and that is all you have to do to connect your fax ATA into the customer's fax machine. All right. You're also going to see some examples on different phone models and images of exactly how to connect the phones. I'm sure, again, you all have connected hundreds of phones before. It's just going to be for a reference for you, as well as if the customer, for whatever reason, might need to connect the phone for whatever reason. We have perfect pictures as to how to do this. You're going to see Yalink examples and Polycom examples, as those are some of the more common phones that are being sold nowadays. Phone training. The phone training should be performed in a group. That's what we recommend. We want to go ahead and push for a group training. So once all the phones are online, or however it is you want to schedule that with the customer, it's important for the installer to make sure that the customer feels comfortable and doesn't have any questions about how to put a call on hold, how to transfer a call, how to use the call park feature, pretty much anything that the customer might be using on their phone. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable doing prior to you leaving the customer site. So phone training will be done by the installer, and if you need any backup, you do have your project coordinator ready to assist. And you can call them at any time during your installation, and they'll be there to back you up if you have any questions, or if you need any special configuration for the customer might need, such as BLF keys. So all of that can be programmed with you guys being right there on site with the help of your project coordinator. One more thing I wanted to run by was the actual soft phone. So this doesn't necessarily have to do with any hardware. However, every single user in the nexogy domain is entitled to a free soft phone. So this soft phone, again, is per user, and your project coordinator can provide you with the credentials to actually download and log in to your soft phone. And that soft phone will allow you to go ahead and make and receive phone calls as if you were using a nexogy phone. This is a great tool for anybody who's going to be outside of the office, somebody who's constantly away from their desk but wants to be notified when their phone is ringing. And the best part about it is, of course, it's free to use. And your project coordinator can give you guys more information on that. And if you need any more information on that, feel free to email provisioning@nexogy.com or support@nexogy.com as well. Okay, so all the phones are installed. Your channel, your customer has been trained on all the phones, as well as the portal training that has been done by the project coordinator has been completed. The installation is now complete. Once the customer has no more questions, you can go ahead and pretty much wrap it up from there. And we have pretty much already confirmed that everything's working. And at this point, we would want to have the customer do a multi-path forward from their current provider over to nexogy's temporary phone number while our project coordinator continues working on the porting. The reason we like to do a multi-path forward, and it's going to become pretty much the nexogy standard, is to, number one, get the customer working on our service as quickly as possible, and number two, make for a more seamless transition from their old provider to their new provider, which will be nexogy, once their phone's installed. So with this multi-path forward, we will be providing you with a temporary phone number, and that phone number, they will provide a forward from their current main number to our number, pretty much allowing us to begin working on the call flow, begin making sure that calls are coming through to our system as well. Also, more than anything, speeding up the installation process as a whole. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you guys joining, and I hope to see you all again next time if necessary.